Welcome to Real Estate 360 with real estate expert Kenn Renner. Good to see you again, Ken. Boy, the housing market in Austin, Texas, Central Texas, for that matter, seems to be changing on a moment's notice.
Daily basis, practically. So, we were talking earlier before the show about how we've had some crazy weather here in Austin, where we had the ice storm, and then 4 days later it's 80 degrees.
Right. Yeah.
And it's almost like exactly what we're talking about in the real estate market.
I can see the comparison.
Yeah. So we've been, I've been up and down the freeway, up and down I-35, all the way down to San Antonio and all the way up into Temple, Waco. And over the last couple of weeks, I've never seen that much pent up supply that all of a sudden the buyers are out. Yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But literally, Santa Rita Ranch is where I live. It's #1 selling community in the Austin metro. And I was out there last weekend, and the builders reported, the on-site agents reported that they had sold 42 houses since the beginning of the year.
Wow.
That's 42. That's like 42 houses. That's like $20 million, one builder in one section.
Wow. And
I went to the other ones and the other builders that were competing against them, and they were incredible that they were having 6-7 sales that week. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about one of the reasons why, or several reasons why, but we're also going to talk about the overall market. And we're also going to give some really good hints for sellers that are thinking about getting into the market that maybe they need to focus a little bit more on financing incentives as opposed to price.
Okay.
Because we've talked about that as the mortgage interest rates is what the big 800-pound gorilla that's holding things back. It's froze the market. Now the builders are addressing that, but us sellers can also address it. Listings when they address it, that they can offer the same things: a 2-1 buy down, favorable discount points, paying closing costs. Just want to get into the stats for January 2023, because that's the last sheet that we have. And that's the median price is $450,000. It's down 6% from January of 2022. We're back up to 2.7 months supply, and there was 2,988 new listings, but we also see 7,323 active listings. So substantially up from last year. And this is the scary number for us in the real estate and mortgage business, is that there were only 1,634 sales in January. There's 15,000 agents. That means there's
not many people getting paychecks.
One sale for every 10 realtors.
Yeah.
So we talked about a previous podcast about how 50% of realtors only sell one house a year. Mm-hmm. So, but the bottom line is that there's way too many realtors for the amount of houses that are available. So it's kind of scary. I feel for my industry, because I've been in it for 40 years. Sandy, I got an industry in 1983. Mm-hmm. If you recall, that's when the interest rates were, we just talked about, 18% down to 12%. That's when I'm 19 years old, going into the real estate industry, 12% interest rates.
Right.
And the adjustables were at 7.5.
And people told you were probably crazy.
I sold one house.
That first
year?
Yeah.
Like most realtors.
Right.
Happened to be a friend of a friend, and I actually sold a house. But yeah, so it's down. It was incredibly difficult. And so I ended up getting into the mortgage business because I was fascinated by numbers. Mm-hmm. So I spent 15 years in the mortgage business, and I also, when I moved to Texas, I did both real estate sales and mortgages, which was very lucrative. Mm-hmm. So that was back in '93. So I've been here for 30 years. So I've seen it happen. I've seen booms and busts, 4 different booms and busts in 4 different states. And unfortunately, a lot of the realtors, in fact, 50% of them in Austin, have not been through the recessions that we've been through over the years. So 2012 was the end of the last recession. 50% of the realtors in the industry right now here in Austin, that was the end of the recession of the 07-08 crisis that caused all the apocalypse of the market. So one of the things to realize is that a lot of realtors don't know the strategies that you need to work with when dealing with a shifted market, and then how to compete against the builders when resellers are competing against builders. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I just wanted to also point out that in 2020, from January 21 to 2022, prices went up 30%. 30% in 1 year. Wow. So they're down 6%, but they were up 30% the year before. So,
Yeah.
you know, is it, you know,
So
are we,
net 24.
yeah. And so, and then we went back to 2019 stats where median price for Austin house was just under 300,000. Remember that those days?
I do.
And there was 2.3 months supply of houses. There were 1,598 sales, very similar numbers. So we're almost back to those 2019 numbers, except the price is $100,000 higher than actually more than that, $150,000 higher median price. So one of the things I started looking at, I've got clients calling me saying, hey, you know the house you sold me back in 05, you know, tell me what it's worth today. And I've said, okay, great. And, you know, everybody's bought, you know, real estate's a long-term investment. So everybody's bought that's been held on for a long time. They're going to do really well. And so this little house on Gray Castle, this is in Pflugerville, so this is affordable housing. If you look at the chart, it peaked at just about June of last year at almost 450,000, and we're talking about a 1,400 square foot house.
Wow.
Okay, now it's just under 350,000, so it dropped 100K. But what I wanted to point out here, which was very interesting, was if you notice at the very end, that little lip where it turns. In other words, we are now turning the corner. And also, if you look at the straight line appreciation on that, it kind of lines up with what should have been a normal market, right? So that market should have been, you know, lined up right that. And so a house that I own over in Avery Ranch, 10 minutes from Apple, it's same thing happened there. You've got this steady increase in prices and then the spikes and then back down. But if you notice, the corner is turned. So my house on Dodge Cattle, I'm not complaining. I bought it in 05 for $200,000. And according to Zillow, which was not very accurate, but it's a great visual. Yeah. So it's $532,000. I'm okay with that. So
you're looking for that lip to sustain. You're looking for that lip to continue going the direction
time
it's
will
going.
tell. But what I'm seeing out, being boots on the ground and bringing clients around and showing properties, you know, with the psychology of the market, and it was been dead, probably September, October, just Deadsville, all the way till about December. And I guess all the pent up demand, people were just getting tired of, you know, I guess they've gotten
had enough. They're like, okay, we're going to do this.
Yeah. There are 5 stages of grief over the interest rates. So they finally work through it, you know, so, so now they understand that's what we're going to be looking at. And then, but it still is a culture shock when you're going from doubling your interest rate, and people were like so used to don't expect those rates in anytime in the near future. And
I'm sure you tell them all this too. You can refinance.
Yeah, when it does. And that's why we kind of look at some of these options with buy downs and temporary, 5-1 arms and 2-1 buy downs, 3-2-1 buy downs. And we're going to talk about that and how the builders are leveraging that to sell 42 houses in one neighborhood in 2 months.
Wow.
That's like the old days, right? You know, a couple of years ago.
Right.
And the good news is that they're offering, you know, not only incentives, but I really encourage my resellers that they really need to take note and know about the financing end of things. And I can tell you that we haven't had to talk about buy downs or interest rate, adjustable interest rates in forever because we didn't need them with the rates where they are. So a lot of realtors don't have 15 years of mortgage industry background like I did have over the years, and to be able to talk about the options that will help make your property more marketable. When it comes to financing. So this is a really cool article that just came out from Axios. Builders are winning the housing recovery by giving buyers what they want, lower interest rates. And that's what they want. It's almost more important than the house itself right now because it's about being able to afford it. We're going to go through some of those actual numbers. 3 largest home builders, D.R. Horton, Lennar, and Pulte, have 52-week highs in their stock prices. So stocks turn, they're selling houses. Builders are supporting strong sales thanks in part to price cuts, which we've known about. They've dropped their prices $100,000 as well, but especially popular incentive, which is mortgage buy downs. So how it works, basically the builder takes some of the money that they went to Wall Street and they bought a block of money, and they're offering, like for instance, Lennar's offering a 4.99% interest rate. And we're talking about today 6.75 for just normal loans. And that's a big difference. We're going to cover the difference between 6.75 and 4.99. Pulte was offering 4.25 and 30-year fixed. Yeah. No additional costs up front. They're building it into the back end of the price, plus they bought all this money from Wall Street.
Right.
And so they're able also on top of that to even do a buy down on top of that to even get the interest rate even lower, depending on how they structure their pricing and their incentive money. So with us, that's really hard to compete against. So right now, mortgage rates we're peaking in November. They peaked just over 7%. Froze home buying last year, right? It actually started earlier than that. Sellers are feeling the pressure to cave on prices, but builders flush with inventory are luring buyers out of the cold with price cuts and by offering short and long-term mortgage deals cheaper than the average 6+% 30-year fixed rate. About 75% of builders are dangling mortgage rates, and buyers can't find on their own through regular lending institutions. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. Over 30% of all builders are offering both buy downs and reduced rates. And so where the builders have deployed mortgage buy downs in the past, it's nothing like we're seeing today. They've always offered buy downs in the past, but now we're seeing that's the unique selling proposition. So huge competitive this is what they're saying. It's a huge competitive advantage over the resale market when you can buy down your rate several percentage points for the first 2 or 3 years. That's that window period we were talking about,
right,
to refinance after the rates mellow out, and years and below market rates for the life of the loan. So that's going to save you money over the year. Bottom line, rising rates and material costs made construction prohibitively expensive just a few months ago. Now costs are settling down, and builders are gaining an upper hand in the resale market by addressing buyers' top concerns. So they're taking buyers away from the resale market, and
they're finding their pain point, and they're solving their problem.
Yeah, we need to talk about those pain points and be able to talk about it, because a lot of there's some pretty good deer in the headlight looks, or they think it's an adjustable rate mortgage, and it's really not. But I just ran some numbers about this, because we were looking at median price about 450, 460, and so the average median price loan is going to be $400,000. At 6.75, that's a principal and interest payment at $2,595. At 4.99 being offered by Lennar, that same loan amount is $2,144. So that's $450 less per month forever, just by that buy down. It also means that they can buy $485,000 house as opposed to your $400,000 house. So it almost gives them $100,000 more buying power. Right. So even though they may be, because builders kind of build that in the price, they may be paying more in the price, they don't care as long as I get that low payment.
Right.
And so those were full buy downs. In other words, over the 30 years of the mortgage. So it's not just they're actually funding up front. But then there's what's called a temporary buy down, and you know about these 2-1 buy downs and even 3-2-1 buy downs.
Right.
So 2-1 buy down works this way. If you have a 4.99 start rate, you're going to be at 2.99 the first year, fixed, 3.99 the second year, fixed, and then 4.99 through 30. Mm-hmm. So those are very popular. Dropping the price. I've got the payments here. It's substantial. And then there's also a 3-2-1 buy down. Scott Felder, who built my home in Santa Rita Ranch, they are offering right now a 4.99 interest rate with a 3-2-1 buy down, which means you're starting at 1.99 for the first year,
right?
2.99 the second year, 3.99 the fourth year, 4.99 years 4 through 30. It's
attractive.
And that's all in the price, and then they still pay closing costs on top of that. So let's look at the numbers here. On a 3-2-1 buy down at 4.99, your principal and interest on a $400,000 loan is $1,476.
Wow, year one.
Right. Second year is $1,684. Third year is $1,907, and then years 4 through 30 is $2,144.
Wow.
So that changes everything, and that's what people are starting to find out. And so those a 2-1 buy down costs about 2.1 points, or 2.1% of the loan amount, and definitely be a good marketing tool for a listing for a resale.
Right.
Oh, we're offering a 2-1 buy down as part of the price. 3-2-1 buy down costs 4.1 points. So that's where it starts to get a little more. That's 4% on 500,000 is $20,000.
Yeah.
But if you're competing against the builders, you probably have that, because if your value went up double, you can afford, rather than lower the price, to give the financing incentives. You don't see the builders lowering their prices; they're going up.
Right.
I sold a house in Santa Rita Ranch last December, 3 months ago, for $330,000. Investor out of California. That house now is at 404. So you still get an incentive. So it's turned the corner. It's changed. Right. And so we're going to be chasing prices up again because inventory is getting bought up. Builders are offering these great incentives. And you and I talked about a little bit, those incentives are starting to go away. They're starting to get bought up.
Right. There's only so much of it. They can only do it for so long.
Right.
Until they don't have any more inventory, right?
And then when you pull back the covers, like I talked to the on-site at Pulte, is they said, well, that's owner-occupied 20% down, and you have to have a 780 plus FICO score.
Right.
So not everybody has that. But
small pool.
Yeah. But what's good is it gets people out, and that's hence the traffic jam.
Sure.
And they were literally saying people would go, I don't care what house I get. I just want that mortgage. The bottom line, Sandy, is that if you want to sell, you have to get creative. You have to be flexible when you're trying to sell a home. There's still people getting married, getting divorced, having babies, getting relocated. You know, the people that need to sell, they can sell. Mm-hmm. And they just have to be flexible with what they're doing. And they have to have a really good real estate broker that pulls all this together. So I'll just give you a couple of sales points we do in our listing presentation is professional. Not the one that sells one a year or maybe 2 or 3 a whole year. I mean, somebody who's full-time in this, working at it and sells a lot of houses. So for me, I sold 350 houses in the last 3 years, over $100 million. That's results. Yeah. And that's what people are looking for. I'm not bragging. It's just the facts. We got lucky. We deal with a lot of relocations and we work with a lot of the Bay Area people. And so we went out there and met them, harvested them, brought them out here, showed them how beautiful it was, and they bought a lot of houses. Pricing, you don't want to chase the market down. Now we're seeing that the market's starting to turn, but I've seen time and time again where you have a listing that drops maybe 5,000 and then maybe 7,000, and then rather than pricing ahead of the market. So we're going to have those conversations about pricing ahead of the market. Presentation. Houses have to look good. They have to smell good. They have to be staged, even if it's virtual staging, which is, really cheap to do. We do that, on the listing. Get the property staged. For the more of the higher end properties, we're looking at having a stager come in and furnish the place, because you've got to make it look good. Marketing. That's my expertise, is marketing. On my last listing, we're having an open house at 8021 Tahoe Park Circle this weekend. We're holding them every weekend. My first open house 2 weeks ago had 9 couples through, or 9 families through, in a 3-hour period. That's pretty active.
They're out there.
Yeah. So we're doing 1,000 marketing pieces for that, plus not only interstate but also all around the neighborhood and the apartment complexes nearby. Doing every door direct, postcards, and blanketing the place. So people go, this must be the place to go. This is the school district I want to be in. So presentation, both online and offline. Videos, we're doing an HGTV style interview video, just like you'd see for House Hunters, because I've been on that show a few times.
Right.
And so I kind of taken their lead on that. Got to have a great negotiator. That's what people really are paying for, is to negotiate, because we were just talking about earlier, a lot of negotiating going on.
Yeah.
People are scared, so they're negotiating, and they think they should get 10% off. And our job at educating is that the market's turned. And so now you're going to be chasing the market up, just as we've been doing for the last 10 years. Creative solutions, and that's where I come in, the financing creative solutions. One of the things we talked about, why not keep that house that you have right now and rent it out? We own a small property management company. We can help you lease that property if it's in our area. We get that property leased, get the income coming in. You got that low 2.75 interest rate on it. Why sell it?
Right.
You still have tax advantages. You can keep it for the next 3 years as that market goes back up, and you still can get your $250 or $500 tax exemption.
Right.
So you don't even pay taxes on the gain that you've had. And so, and then you become a real estate investor with the tax advantages, all of the stuff that I teach. So that's really important, the tax disposition and how to properly structure the sale of the property so you don't miss out on the government's best giveaway, which is the exemptions and then the 1031 tax deferred exchange. So we discuss all that in our meetings, because you have to be creative these days. I mean, you have to have experience. And after doing this for 40 years, 30 years here in Austin, hopefully I'll have had enough experience to be able to, and 15 years in the mortgage business, to put all these things together to put our clients in the best position.
Right.
So I want to thank you, Sandy, once again for putting on the show for me.
Sure.
But I also want to do my shameless plug for Santa Rita Ranch.
It's a good looking hat.
Yeah.
It.
They don't just give these to anybody.
Yeah.
So
buy a home, get a hat.
But yeah, buy a home, get a hat. I'll make sure you get one. But what happened, we had a really cool, did the Small Business Expo back in January. We had over 200 people through. We had 40 businesses represented. We had over 200 people through the community. It was great to serve the community and bring businesses to our community. They also played keyboards at the chili cook-off.
Nice.
Yeah, with X Factory Band. That was a lot of fun. And then in December, I hosted the music for the Christmas market. Oh, cool. So I'm sponsoring that kind of stuff, really trying to get involved in the community. And I'd love to sell your Santa Rita house or sell you a house in Santa Rita. All right. So I appreciate you, Sandy.
Good seeing you.
See you next
Ken.
time.
All right.
Thanks
we'll
a lot.
see you again soon.